feels like the 1st of July here, as far as the heat goes. Got my noise machine turned on. Just refresh the stream if you guys don't see anything there. But I'm ready to go. We're going to be playing any kind of classical and blitz chess between 5+3 and 8+3. I'm willing to play a couple of Chess 960 games. I think we had a challenge already in Chess 960. These are the open challenges. Yeah, we've got games with Aldisto. Aldisto started to like Chess 960 and Arsenal fans. So I think that'll do it for the Chess 960. I'm going to take my chances and start Lavalantula. Something happened yesterday where he challenged me, but then didn't re-challenge me when I rejected his time control or something. I'm not sure. I don't recall playing against this opponent yesterday. So, what do we do? I'm going to play the Caro-Kann. 8 challengers, half of them not even in chat. Well, because they don't talk doesn't mean they're not in the chat. I think the Kyrgios is in the chat. Aldisto probably is in the chat. I'm not sure about Dirty Cheater, X6, and... Well, Bakus is definitely a chatter. He's new. I mean, he's new to the list. I think we lost someone. Did we drop Arsenal fan Richie? Alright. I'm playing mostly Sicilian, but I want to play this. Now, interestingly, he plays the exchange on d5. And I was just talking yesterday, I mean, I think this is a positional mistake, but I'm talking in a very deep sort of strategic sense. It's kind of like, how can I draw a parallel? Trading away from the center, but it's still a mainline opening. I mean, it's the only way that White can really force a very open position in the Panov. Anyway, I'm glad because I like to play both sides of this position. X6 is... You think he's Amlochik? They're not different people? That's weird. Alright, Lavalantula now. I'm playing knight c6 here. Maybe I should just bust out g6 because... There's some variations I don't know real well with that though. You know, like CD, bishop g7, queen b3. I probably need to brush up on. Bishop g5. And now, I used to play queen a5 a lot. Unfortunately, that variation might be a forced draw. If White wants. So... We're going to play bishop e6. I played both sides of this. Black have no problems now? Well, yeah, theoretically. Although life is not that easy. I played this position with White against this guy, Zakhar Favinov. Is an old Russian dude. Actually, I think he's Russian. I think he was Russian. I mean, I'm not sure. He could have been from... He could have actually been from Ukraine or like Belarusia, but he definitely spoke Russian. This old FIDE master. I remember playing White against him. That was probably the last time I ever played this position for White 20 years ago. I'm probably lying, but it's not that common. I mean, bishop e6. This particular variation is not that common for Black, but it's good, I think. Now c5, and here I'm suddenly not sure if I'm supposed to play knight e4 or g6. I guess g6. I want to say I've even played queen d7 here. Actually, is that the main move in this position? Ooh, it's been a while since I played this for Black. Starting to question myself. Is it just my imagination about queen d6? Queen d7? g6, g6, queen b3, queen d7, g6, bishop b5, bishop g7. It doesn't seem necessary to play queen d7. But I'm having a strange recollection that eyes are itchy because of allergies. You finally created a Twitch account. Now I'm here too. Aldisto, great. I don't know. I have this weird recollection about queen d7, but I mean g6 seems much more logical. The problem is there's a Trompowsky variation that's very similar to this. d4, knight f6, bishop g5, d5. That I get confused about sometimes. I get the two variations intermingled in my mind. They're kind of similar structurally. What about bishop f5 and e5 later? Yeah, of course. I mean, we've got to play for the e5 break or b6 break, one or the other. But that bishop has several possibilities. It would really like to go to g4, you know, say in the case of something like bishop, knight f3, bishop g4. But bishop f5 is a possibility. Definitely. You know, I'm wondering about move 6. Move 7, I mean. I don't think that knight e4 is as good here. It's a little late for that. Maybe he just takes and plays knight e2. That looks playable, though. It doesn't contribute to my development, though. Anyway. So knight f3 now. Bishop g4, queen a4 is a problem. Yeah, I think we have to. Bishop g4, queen a4, or bishop takes c6, queen a4. Probably more accurate to play queen a4. I have to get out of here. There are some lines where black plays bishop e6 even when white doesn't play bishop g5 on move. But let's say white plays knight f3 here, for example, and instead of bishop g5, and still bishop e6 is a line. This piece is a little bit strangely placed. It's basically like a Tarrasch reversed. Tarrasch Queen's Gambit reversed. No, bishop g4, queen a4, queen d7, knight e5. That's the problem. Eyes are itchy. Okay, now, castles makes my life pretty easy. I think, you know, the critical move is probably h3. Although black should have plenty of resources here. You know, even if I had to play bishop d7, it probably wouldn't be so bad. Although that might, if it drops a pawn, I take it back. h3 is white's best. You know, now I have bishop g4, and I should be comfortable after that. I thought Lavalanche had a better score than the what? He has played well in quite a few games. Well, we have a lot of people that fit that description, that their score doesn't really reflect, you know, how well they played. I mean, like, Muleskinner's score is terrible against me, yet he actually plays really well. I feel. Okay, time is usually the biggest problem. Okay, this is reasonable the way that he's played this now. I can't allow really a knight. I don't really want a knight to come to e5. And it's a little hard to generate any counterplay here. Thinking about rook b8, I mean, e5 is the move that I really want to play, as was pointed out earlier. It's going to be It's going to be kind of tough to get this in. With that bishop on g5, it's very hard to organize e5. Try to just play solidly. Hopefully I can make it happen. Maybe rook b8. I should have played last move, probably. The rook obviously has more potential on b8 than it does anywhere else. So now, sure, I really have a clear plan here. People might be wondering, like, why doesn't I play h6, you know? But grammatic joke there. Grammatical. But I think that h6 just weakens my king side. I prefer to do without that move. How do you ever kick the bishop? Yeah, you probably don't. You probably just like sort of let it sit there and seek counterplay. Maybe unpin yourself with maybe just move the knight to d7. I would say. I'm seeking some counterplay along the b file, obviously. Maybe I can set up some sort of tactics. This pawn I've mentioned in earlier streams. You know, I'd really like to come up with a name for that. Please don't have any tactics. Piece sacrifice, knight takes d5. I mean, I guess if I had to, I could play bishop f6. But it looks like f6, e5 is possible now. Now it's a different story. So close, yet so far away. Unpinning my pawn. Seeking counterplay against these 2 points, really. b2 and d4. Yeah, so the idea is not to weaken my pawns around my king side and try to find some weird way like the game where I can unpin myself. I don't think he can take on e7 because of counter pin. Bishop f8 or bishop f6. So black seems to have the upper hand here. We have tactics, maybe knight takes c5 at some point, e5. But it's sort of double-edged. I don't think I'm going to do anything fancy. Basically, yes, e5 might happen. But right now, you know, it's sort of a hollow threat because my rook is unprotected on e8. If I play that, I'll probably have to follow up with f6. Another interesting idea would be knight f8, knight e6. Trying to encourage him to sack the exchange and maybe kill me. Alright. I decided to just forget about e5 for now. We'll put it on the back burner. Unfortunately, his bishop on f4 is very good. It's cutting through b8, and I can't play rook b8 to triple on the file. Brother, this looks a little awkward. Wow, knight takes c5, anyone? I basically have no idea what I just did. Maybe I do have an idea what I just did. Missed the point. We missed the point. That's what we did. Oh no. Sack a piece. We sack a piece for some pawns. Maybe we get 3 pawns for a piece. I was only looking at knight b4 and I forgot he could play knight c1. But I don't think he played this right. I think he should have taken the other way. It's pretty unclear. I have 2 pawns for an exchange here. This isn't so bad. Well, unfortunately, I missed that move. All right. It could have been a lot worse. I could have been the piece down for some pawns. I should at least be okay here. We're only temporarily down a rook. Yeah, No, I need to take this. Kind of got the initiative there. Pre-move. He caught me, and he may have been winning when I blundered that move. Let me see. Let's see here, guys. Quick analysis. I'm surprised how few games there are here. So knight e4 is actually the most common move, and I'm surprised how few master games there are in this position. It's kind of hard to believe. Wow. Knight e4. Maybe that's better. Alright. Only 1 game in this position? That's like impossible. That's unbelievable. Wow. Gerhard Schroll. Good old Gerhard. One of my old customers. Knight ge2 would have been better, maybe. Or h3, I think. No, knight f3 is okay. Computer says I had knight e4 there, and now h3 I like. Here. I'm really surprised how few games there are in the lichess opening explorer here. That is sort of surprising. You'd think there'd be a lot more. I missed knight e4. But this is good enough, and then I'm like a little bit better. Everything's fine until knight a2 when I missed knight c1 because I thought he was trying to trap my rook the other way with knight b4. I'm focusing on this, and I overlooked knight c1, so I have to be really careful here. This is a terrible blunder, and now I have to sack here, and he can just play some sort of quiet move. I didn't see queen c2. Queen c2 is lights out. This wasn't that clear, like d takes c, so he just has queen c2 there. Alright, not good. I got myself tangled up. Aldisto, 5 plus 5. Queen b8. When did I ever have queen b8? Oh, queen b8. Well, that was the problem. His bishop on f4 was always controlling this stupid diagonal. He played well to play bishop f4. Anyway, it's surprising, like, if we look in ChessBase or something in a professional database, we're going to find a lot more games there. But apparently, like, not that many master level players have played that position for whatever reason. I mean, it's sort of surprising to me. Okay, we always get a knight on h1 lately when we're playing chess 960. I don't know why that is. Why not I move 16 queen b8? He didn't have a bishop on f4? I thought there was a bishop on f4. Am I hallucinating? We're just gonna go ahead and play classically here. e4. Move 16. Was his bishop not on f4 yet? Okay, so like I played rook b4 and attacked d4, and so you're saying I played queen c8 and I could have played queen b8. It's possible I would do a stupid thing like that. Of course, then on the other hand, I have to see the position again. Yeah, queen b8, if it was playable, it would have been a good idea. Alright, I'm not sure what we're supposed to do here. This is very strange. The pieces are not really placed in a way that I can see why I can get very aggressive. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't like my game. It looks like a really strange closed Sicilian or something like that. Bakus, you can check your challenge. Your challenge got kicked out. Well, we lost a lot of challengers. What's going on? 1 f4, said Chess Cubed. f4 maybe opening out that bishop. World Loser, it's very small, but it does have most of the master games. Unfortunately, it's missing all games before like 1960, which is another all classic, like old school games are not in there, except for maybe, I don't know if they're like world championship matches and stuff, but I don't like the fact that there's not enough old games and the old master games are not included. I mean, like, what are games like from 100 years ago not relevant or something? The second problem is, yeah, the size of it, it's not that big. Okay, knight on hg3. Although all the bad games, the weak games, are sort of have been paired out. A knight f5 is tempting, but black has knight e6 here. Milskinner said, "What state am I moving to?" I'm not really moving. I live in Budapest. I live in Massachusetts, but I'm not there most of the time. I'm actually not really moving. I just do this every summer where I sort of spend a couple months in the US. Bakus is back, but I feel like we lost some other challenges. Mule Skinner, are you still in the challenge list? Yeah. Let me know if somebody lost their challenge. This is gonna be a really tough game to get my pieces developed. Okay, and Aldisto is a strong player. He's only 1900 here in Chess 960, probably based on a limited amount of games. But it's only 47. It's hard to get your Chess 960 rating up. I'm only 2140 based on I don't know how many. 58. I have a vacant house. No, I don't have a vacant house. I just stay with family there. Bishop g5 is Bishop g5 is an aggressive move. It's not good to be an absentee owner. That might happen someday if I have to leave my apartment here vacant, or rent it out or something. Well, Bishop g5, okay, why not? I can do that too, you know. Let's see. What if I strike first while the iron is hot? Why not attacking knight f5, attacking f7, and knight h5? You know what? It's very materialistic, but it could be good. Let's see. Knight here, knight e6 to press twice. I like how he says press twice. It would have been. It probably would have been good. I'm just not materialistic enough. I was going for a different plan, trying to exploit this bishop on g5. But you may be right. Maybe right. Anyone ever tried Fisher Random Tournament? Muleskinner, interesting question. I think in the summer there's a chess festival in the Czech Republic in Pardubice, which does different kind of variants. They probably have Bug House and Fisher Random for sure. Which way am I recapturing here? I mean, I'm glad to get that piece, and now we have like problem because I don't want to kill my bishop too much. So I think we have to capture with a piece on e3. Rook looks awkward there. At the same time, it might have some attacking potential. I mean, rooks are not really close range pieces. I don't know what to do here. No, I'm going to take with the knight. You can call me like passive if you want, but this knight is centralized. I've got my bishop pair. That's kind of a long-term advantage. We'll leave this for later. I don't want to draw my rook out to an exposed position. I'll just play quietly here. And now what about my queen? How about b3, queen b2, fianchetto? Rook takes, rook c3. Yeah. This is okay. This is you know, this like I did that in kindergarten. You know, like bring the rook up, a4, rook a3, rook across. Everybody does that. You know. But actually, I'm just trying to be sarcastic, but it might be good. You know, it might be good, but I just don't have a lot of time, and I'm trying to be practical. So, not putting my pieces in vulnerable positions. This bishop on g1 should be kind of money in the bank. It doesn't seem like very, very good at the moment, but I think that later on it could prove to be an advantage. Even the most closed of positions can start to open up. This is also kind of in tune with that. I mean, I'm starting to play for dark square control. a5, again, the schoolboy attack. Rook a6, he can try to turn the tables on me. Do you even rook lift? I mean, I'm a big believer in rook lifts, but not in the magnitude of like a Larry Christensen or something. But I have gotten a little bit too conservative in my old age, so we probably need to bust out more creative maneuvering. How am I going to make this bishop on g1 a feature piece here? There may come a day when I can play f4 later on, but just f3 slowly. One thing about chess 960, this pawn needs a little bit of support, I would say. When we just play f3, just to open that bishop on g1 up and secure the central pawn on e4. You know what, guys? We've got a minute on the clock. I'm not thinking real tactically in this position with 16 pawns on the board. Try to play tournaments in the Czech Republic. There are many old players. That's true, World Loser. I didn't think of that. I'm looking for tournaments with old players. Easy rating points. Not always, but we're gonna slowly try to give my pieces some life here. Not really sure what I'm supposed to do right about now. Knight d5. Oh, man, I don't know what to do here. I'm just freaking out. Never freak out. That's what I did against Kovalenko in my last tournament. I just freaked out with like 30-second increments. I mean, it's totally inexcusable. I was acting like I had 3-second increments with a good position and just threw the game away. Rook a6 is a good move. I'm not sure what he's threatening, though. You know, he doesn't seem to have any threats. Rook a6 is a sort of okay, slow improving move. Now knight d4. I better get that out of there. Not allowed to castle because there's no open square on d1. Tried to illegally castle. Okay, this is going to get kind of hairy. So just bear with me. Wow. That was fortunate, because I think he might have had a stronger move around there somewhere. Alright, we just need to bear down, concentrate, get my rook out of a1. Oh, you're castling over there. My god, is that legal? What a demented position this is. defensive move, rook a2. I've been waiting to play that. I've got to keep it closed. H7 is a weak point, but I haven't found a way to really exploit it. Wow, look at that king. Had G5 there. Could have played. Now he's trading queens. Man. No idea what I'm doing. Okay. Bishop takes. Not really good. So I'm actually losing a pawn because taking on d6 is dangerous. I decided not to do it. Still you have space. And I don't think that we're worse here. Very complicated position. Damn. Opposite-colored bishops. That's a hell of a move. I don't want to trade. I'm not sure what's going on. I mean, I feel like I have compensation for the sacrificed pawn. He just dropped a piece. I was kind of waiting for that to happen. It was just, he wanted to play the move so badly. All right, but let's see the real evaluation here. I'm actually better, even though I'm a pawn down. White is better. Every single one of his pawns is isolated, and my king is more active than his. Interesting game. If we go back a few moves, maybe he's still okay. Yeah, I think like if he doesn't play c3 check, it's objectively equal. But black might feel like they're up a pawn and it's their obligation to, you know, play for a win or something. But I don't think that realistically black is better here. Despite being a pawn down, somehow my pieces are better coordinated. And he's got all these isolated pawns that are weaknesses. I actually have a protected pass pawn. It's an interesting struggle. Yeah, he dropped a piece. Okay, I mean, it was a difficult position for both sides. But it should be a draw, probably, by repetition or something. I mean, we're kind of running out of things to do here. World loser. I'm trying to play some serious tournament openings. Yesterday I was playing unusual stuff because on Wednesday that's what we do. I was tempted to play b3 against world loser. Yeah, we had fun yesterday, but let's play a standard opening here. Mostly I've played mainline type of Slav stuff against world loser. Let's try something else. The London system. Everybody else plays it. Actually, c5 is a line I have played myself with black. Then I have to play c3 because knight on bd2, queen b6. Well, that could be some sort of pawn sacrifice. But mostly c3. I haven't played the London system very often in my life. Maybe just a handful of games. My memory goes back to losing with white against Zoltan Shikloshi in 1997. I played an IM tournament in Kecskemét where the only game I lost was against him. So, world loser exchanges on d4. You know, I guess traditionally that's considered to be like a slight concession for black to exchange on d4, but I think it's perfectly okay. It's basically like a Queen's Gambit exchange variation with colors reversed. And I'm not, you know, a lot of people play things like knight h4. I mean, I'm not really down with that. Simon Williams did a DVD on the London and the Old Indian and the Dutch. No. I don't know, man. Simon just practicing or teaching people to play the Old Indian. I mean, I think that's a little passive. But I like Simon in general. I met him for the first time years ago when he was a little kid. We played a game where I was, want to say, black in an English opening, and he played c4. No, I was black. He played c4. I played e5, and it went knight c3, bishop b4. At that time, in the mid 90s, I was playing like this line. World loser's playing bullet chess. But anyway, I sacked a piece for 3 pawns and it ended in a draw against the young Simon Williams. That's our only tournament game. And then there was some blitz games. I don't remember what happened. World loser just plays blitz. Now here's an interesting moment. You know, do you want to play f5? And I would think that's kind of a risky undertaking. Not to say it's not possible. So this sort of position, this is why I don't play the London system. Maybe for a practical player, this is a fun position, but for me, it's just boring. Now, I don't know if I should bother to play on the queen side here. Yeah, probably I should. I can restrict that for quite a while, I guess. A4, though A4 is kind of committal. I guess I can restrict B5 for a time. The other option would be to play like rook E2 and not just allow him to play B5. I don't really play the black side of the Queen's Gambit decline very much, and so I don't really enjoy playing either side of this kind of exchange Queen's Gambit position. There was a time many years ago when I played the exchange Queen's Gambit with white, but I became pretty bored with it after a while, releasing the tension so early and whatnot. Yawn. Now what do we do? I can't play A5. I mean, I could play A5, but it's pretty committal. We're really supposed to be playing for F4, F5. Hard to realize that here. I think you're going to see too many center-pawn loss in this game. And now you could take with the pawn. I mean, it's definitely more positionally correct. Take with a rook. This is why you don't play the London system, kids. Number one, it's boring. Number two, it's easy to just trade a lot of pieces off the board. He's trying to engineer B5, obviously. I'm already committed to A4, so I might as well play A5. So guys, I have some kind of allergen in my eye. I'm susceptible to pollen allergies. And I've got the window open, and the city park is right across the street. So you do the math. So Chess Cube is talking about F6. Of course, he can try to do this sort of central pawn majority thing, but I think in general, that type of thing is stronger when there's all the pieces on the board. Basically, like Rook C8. I'm supposed to be playing like F4, F5. What would gotta do? I gotta do it. So it's like the play is dictated by the pawn structure to a great degree. I mean, I'm playing for F5, he's playing for B5, minority attacks on both sides. Now he's trying to trade queens, as you can see. The rook ending looks like it's tiny bit better for white. Actually, I can take and play F5 here. But how much is it really? I could play Queen G3. Queen G3, Queen somewhere, and then I have to retreat my Queen. I mean, this way at least I can get in F5 when I might have some kind of theoretical pawn structure advantage. Norway Chess 2017 is starting on Monday. By the way, I mean, if you want to watch some good chess, the European Individual Championship is going on now. It's not an elite closed tournament. I mean, I don't know how Norway is this year, by the way. But I think that the chess there is absolutely awesome. I mean, personally, it's going on in Minsk now. It's in today is round 2, I think, or round 3. I almost want to give up my U.S. federation to become a Hungarian federation player just so I can play in the European Individual Championship. I've really thought about it. I mean, I think this move almost loses by force for black. Rook takes d5. And suddenly I have 4-on-2 on the queen side, and he has 4-on-2 on the king side, but it's hard for him to let's say mobilize his majority, whereas I have this stronger protected pass pawn on d4. I think this is a bad decision to take on f5. I can put a rook on the 7th. Maybe we touched on World Loser's weak point here. I never really noticed he was vulnerable in the endgame per se, but this position looks dangerous for black. Looks like he's melting down. The Wicked Witch of the West. In the Wizard of Oz. KG response though. He has rook f8 at the last moment. White is winning here, probably. Because of this and this, these pawns should be winning the game. Should I centralize my king at some point? Probably wouldn't hurt. We're actually not up any material, just this pawn is a devastating killer. These two pawns, it's quality that counts. Where do you watch? Well, I mean, I don't know. You can watch it a lot of places. I guess the easiest to watch it would be like Chess Bomb. But you can watch it, I'm sure you can watch it on a lot of sites. Just on the actual site, I mean, I'm sure that European Individual Championship has its own site. Just look it up. It's got to be A4. Unfortunately, D6 looks really strong here. Unfortunately for him. Two connected passed pawns. I'll just C5. Technical game. No. The Wizard of Oz was just a favorite movie of mine when I was a little kid. Been a long time since I had any direct reference to that. Alright, so World Loser just sort of rolling over and dying in this rook end game. But I thought he should have maintained his pawn structure by not taking on f5. Okay, I'm not going to count my chickens before I hatch them here, but it is lost for black. You can't play with this rook passive on f8. So the easiest way to beat World Loser apparently is to bore him to death with a totally lame opening, get him to a technical position where I have a microscopic advantage, and wait for him to melt down. Because if you try to play with him in complicated positions, like yesterday in the rat defense, he's very, very dangerous. But objectively, like if you look at this game, let's see, opening, standard, yeah, I mean, I like queen b6. This is how I lost to Shikloshi Zoltan. Queen b6, queen b3, c4, queen c2, bishop f5, queen c1, blah, 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 you know, and sort of like black is a tiny bit better, I think. Or queen b6, queen b3, c4, queen takes b6. Actually, that's what I did against Zoltan Shikloshi. Queen b6, queen b3, c4, queen takes b6, a takes b6, and then some odd rook a5 or something. It's a well-known variation. Okay, c takes d, it's not my favorite, but it's a line. You know, I'm not even sure what's best here for black. Let's see. Kramnik to Palov we're following. The main move is queen b3 apparently. This isn't aggressive enough, I guess. Bishop e2 is not aggressive enough. We got nobody playing white here. Nobody good. Just a bunch of 2200s. And we're out of book here with an equal position. h6, h3. By the way, okay. Yawn. I mean, this is where I felt he started to go wrong. Like, you know, with queen c6, I wasn't sure what his plan is. Okay, he's trying to play b5. Maybe even b6. Yeah, you don't want to do that. Just a tiny bit better for white. Maybe you should just break down and play b5 here. You know, I think that's the easiest way to play the position, probably. Isolated pawn isn't so bad. I mean, I have a backward pawn here on b2. So yeah, now rook c6, I guess. Then I have rook e1, and he has to take on f5. He's in trouble here. It's surprising how bad it is for black, how quickly. Wow, Kamsky would have been proud of me for this game. Alright. Thank you, Gata, for the inspiration. But everyone's talking about, like, Carlsen playing the... Yeah, you're right, we're a loser. You're already in big trouble after f5. I didn't realize how bad it was for black. You know, it doesn't seem fair, almost. Let's play another d4. I don't really like playing against the French, and Kyrgios plays the French, so I'm not in the mood for that today. Gotta put some water in my eye. I'm really suffering here. Thank you guys for joining me. We have 53 viewers at the moment. Usually we get up to around 70. Let's bear with Kyrgios. He might have lost his place here. Anyway, so speaking of the London system, I have the two-part book on Rubinstein, which I highly recommend, by ICE. It's like 20 years old now, like everything else I talk about, but Rubinstein is Rubinstein. It's games from 100 years ago, you know, but the guy was the greatest player who played the London system in contemporary chess, and if that includes things from 1900 forward, let's say, and Carlsen and whoever. I mean, you can't really, you know, the London system isn't really a theoretical opening. I mean, these games from 100 years ago are just as relevant today as they were back then. But anyway, it's amazing how these practical players like Kamsky and Carlsen are playing bishop f4. Faster time controls, though, are making grandmasters search for, I think, more practical openings. Kyrgios doesn't seem to be here. Wake up. We're going to have to abort this game and hope that he shows up, comes back. And if so, we'll put him back in line. We got Lousy Dirty Cheater, Mule Skinner, Arsenal Fan, Baku's Neverness, and Daniel from Iran. Alright. We lost Kyrgios. I think he went to the bathroom or something. So, Cheater. It's always a good name. You're on the wrong chess site. B3. Did you play? No, it was somebody else played B4 against me yesterday. Alright, interesting stuff. Jobava. Speaking of the European Championship, will Jobava dominate? I'm not a big Jobava fan. I mean, I really like that he's creative, but he seems kind of coffeehouse to me. I prefer someone else to win the European Championship. Someone a little more, let's say, aesthetically correct. Very strong practical player, Jobava, though. Along with my vanquisher from Zalakaros. Go on without me. Oh, I'm dying. Go on without me. So he just plays knight f3. We had a similar game yesterday where someone, a new opponent, he played b4 instead of b3. Obviously, anytime you play b4, it's a little more weakening. How can you not be a Jobava fan? I guess I'm a Jobava fan in a sense, but you know what I mean? He just plays sort of incorrectly. I'll take Yakovenko over Jobava any day. It's possible to be a great player and play correctly too. You know, that's my new that's my new catchphrase. Bishop e2. If you take a player like Yakovenko and Jobava, they're like the same rating, but one plays like absolutely correctly according to chess principles, and the other seems to like go out of his way to try to bamboozle people with sort of crappy openings. I think you get a lot of mileage out of stuff like b3, but at some point people are going to start picking up on it, you know, and then you have to change your you're going to have to change your approach. You have to change openings every month or something, you know, that gets to be kind of a nuisance. Speak for yourself, Richie. We all try to play correctly, at least. Well, at least try to play correctly. But if you don't have principles, you're like in the forest, in the wilderness, like without a compass. You know, it's fine for Jobava, who's 2,700, to break the rules every game, but I don't think he's a good he's a good role model for creativity. You know. But that's why he gets destroyed when he plays in a super tournament. Jobava just gets absolutely ripped apart into little pieces when he plays with like 2,800 players. It works until a certain level, you know, and then things start going astray. You can't like, you know, you can't play incorrectly against like Kramnik or something and not pay the price, or Aronian. I'm thinking about playing a5, a4, but I might be playing a little bit on white's side of the board there. A Lousy Dirty Cheater playing very similarly to that last opponent we had yesterday. Basically the same exact structure. Yeah, I think a5 in of itself is probably fine. I can play to activate my rook from its original square, maybe a4. Jobava lost yesterday. Yeah, that's great. Jobava against Rapport. They're actually perfect for each other. Rapport almost came back. Well, he did come back to tie for first in Zalakaros, but he, I guess, won second on tiebreak. Yeah, I mean, not surprising that like a Jobava might get upset by a low-rated player. He's taking so many risks. But actually, for me, he's a good role model because I need to take more risks and play more creatively. But I think for anyone, for other people, that style of play can be dangerous and seductive, but also you need to be a very strong player before you start to break the rules. You smell a kingside attack, really? Here? I think you... Is this chess 960? I smell a pawn structure advantage. It's hard for white to do anything here, in case you haven't noticed. But it's also hard for black to break through. He could play g3, f4 at some point. Maybe bishop h6. What am I doing though? Bishop h6, he just moves the rook again. Actually, I don't mind the rook being on c1. It's not really doing anything. Again, if you guys want to check out my last game from yesterday in my history of games, extremely similar to this. What is the plan? Sort of hard for both sides to do anything. 2004 in bullet. Well, I can't just do nothing. Well, I can do nothing actually better than he can do nothing here, I suppose. We induce him to play c5. Then we can break with e5 or e5 or b6. If you're wondering concretely what this move does, it might help me to play a4 at some point. I didn't want to play a4 and allow him to play b4. Okay? So that's the point. I want to break with a4, but I don't want white to have b4. I mean, knight h5, it doesn't do anything. White just goes g3 whenever he wants, and f5 doesn't do anything. It just weakens my e6 pawn. It looks very macho to play something like knight h5, f5, but at the end of the day, I think I'm just like backward along the e file. I can't even draw arrows anymore. Alright. Bishop c3, it looks like he's enabling himself to meet the threat of a4. Very little white can actually do here of the active variety. Still, I don't have anything. The move I'd like to play is b5, but there doesn't seem to be any way to get that in. Maybe I should just break down and play e5 there. I don't know what my plan is. I'm running out of time. This guy's playing exactly like our last round opponent from yesterday. It's sort of disturbing how similar it is. Could he be the same guy? No. With two accounts? In that game it was b4, but the structure was exactly the same. Even the piece configuration for white was kind of similar. I guess we just had the same distribution of pieces. Two knights, bishop against two bishops and knight, queens and rooks. Okay, now finally something happened. So I can play b5 or b6 probably. It's double-edged, but perhaps correct. It's always difficult to play when you have competing, let's say, competing principles, you know. On the one hand, you don't want to open up the position when the other guy has the bishop pair. But let's say you're ahead in development and he has the bishop pair, you know. You're supposed to open up the position when you're ahead in development, yet you're not supposed to open up the position when he has the bishop pair. So that's why chess is a tough game, because oftentimes different fundamental principles are conflicting with each other. Maybe that's the case here to some degree. Knight on a3 is really bad. I have a backward pawn on the c-file now, which I wouldn't mind getting rid of. Although if I do get rid of it, it's at the expense of my pawn structure, or sorry, opening up his bishops and whatnot. Knight h5 doesn't really do anything. We've said that already, plus I'm losing on time. Got to do something. Looks like white's better here. This move I didn't expect. Now I really like to trade bishops if I can. He just hung a piece. Played a really good game until that point. I think white's at least equal there. I was gonna play knight c2, knight h5 and try to trade dark squared bishops. I think the black should be all right. Computer has the position as dead equal. I expected something like knight move, but let's say bishop e2. Now maybe knight h5, as was mentioned earlier. To me, makes sense to trade. There's some sort of problem here with tactics. Yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, it was a good game by white. I think he played pretty much perfectly. It says he has an inaccuracy. The inaccuracy is 1b3. No, it wasn't. c5. It didn't like. Okay, I mean, I don't know. You know, I don't think c5 is that bad. So good game by this opponent who held me to an even game until the blunder. Mule Skinner, and I get black. Always get black against Mule Skinner. I won on time, but he dropped a piece on a3. I mean, it was totally okay for white until this piece drop. But we both had less than 10 seconds. Mule Skinner, let's keep our discussion going on the Grand Prix attack. We have a sort of theoretical. He could come up with something new. Maybe he'll get bored, but we're having a theoretical discussion on this particular line. I'm coming up with new improvements every day. This isn't that rare of a variation. White gives up the bishop on b5 because it's kind of a closed position, and this can occur in the Ras Lima variation too. I mean, it's really hard to say, and I mention this every day. D5 is like black's main move, but I don't like it. So let's see if I can improve on yesterday's game. I played bishop d7 yesterday. He played a4. Okay, I came up with a new idea here. Bishop d7. This is our game from yesterday, a4. which looks best. He could retreat or play c4, something weird. Triumphant. We haven't seen you in a long time. It's not the same guy. I was just, speculating. Could our last opponent be the same guy who played us yesterday? It's a new move, Queen d3. I have the strange feeling that Muleskinner's been doing some homework or something. You know what's really weird? I think the computer yesterday, when I looked at my game, was suggesting a4. Oh, you know what it is? No, here in this position. There is a game where, let's see, Bartok Macheya played CD. And White's, like the engine says that White shouldn't take back. He can go like Queen d3 or some totally insane move. I wonder if this is borrowed from that, but alright, whatever. It's a developing move. What's the idea? a6. Are you going to play knight a3 or something? a6, knight takes d4, I would expect. But it's weird because I have queen b6 here. And some tactics based on this. Maybe that's the idea? Queen b6. There's only one way to find out. Queen b6, knight c3, c takes d, knight to d5. And then I'm like kind of screwed. I have to go back probably to d8. Queen d8, knight takes d4, etc., etc. So maybe it's better to just omit queen b6 and play some sort of normal moves here. If this doesn't work out well, we can explore other options. I mean, bishop d7 isn't the only move. I can just simply take like Macheya did on d4, but I just like the idea of developing a piece with tempo. Alright, I don't know. I'm not really sure what White's idea is. Queen d3 just... It's just a random developing move. I'm not sure there's anything concrete. Maybe he avoids bishop g4 in some lines, pinning his knight to his queen. Silence as I ponder the possibilities here. Rook c8. This was one of the main ideas I was looking at with the computer yesterday, like playing a very quick rook development type of idea. But that was different. That was like without queen d3. I mean, it feels like I'm pretty far behind development. I think it's also against e5, queen d3. Because now he has things like knight b5, which actually he doesn't. Doesn't have knight b5. E5 again. Huh. Actually, e5 looks really dangerous for white. Let's go for it. I mean, because he's put his queen on this diagonal. I don't know. World Loser was talking about e5 the other day. I think I've got it on my brain now. It looks like looks like a Kuprejcik Sicilian. Maybe. Okay, I'm a dragon player, guys. And if accelerated dragon mostly, but still. You have bishops on g7. Trust me, when you play the dragon, you don't like to play e5. Yesterday, World Loser was talking about me playing e5 in some Grand Prix attack, but when you've played fianchetto type of Sicilians your life, like, you don't like to play the move e5. It's not, it's not really something you normally like to do. So that's why I have a kind of bias against playing this move. Guys, I don't know, Kyriakos Pez, maybe he got abducted by aliens. There's a lot of possibilities. We've got a YouTube channel, peoples. Video chess training on YouTube. Please check it out. Tomorrow I should be able to upload a new video. Queen b6 check, bishop e3, bishop b5, c4, bishop takes c4, queen takes c4, queen takes e3 check. This is interesting. The problem is queen b6 check, king h1, and then bishop b5 he just plays c4 and I'm looking pretty stupid. In the meantime, my pawn is hanging on d6. But on the positive side, we have some tricks here. Knight e7, just developing a piece. Good stuff like that. The problem is he has a Marazzi type of setup, looks pretty effective. Maybe just c4. Alright, let me get this arrow off the board, and we're going to start moving. Queen b6 check, king h1. At the moment, his knights are pretty immobilized. I don't think I analyzed that variation enough. Even like queen b6 check, bishop e3 is kind of complicated. Bishop e5, he can move the queen. Let's see. What about like knight to f6? Really crazy stuff. Knight to f6, pawn takes pawn. I could just sack a pawn in some lines for really good compensation. Looking for help here. Could you do a video on how you approach evaluating middle game positions in your own games? That's an interesting idea. Build subsequent plans. I'll have to write it down. Alright. '97 is so passive. But I don't see anything concrete after knight f6. Alright, I'm just going to play it. You know what? Screw it. This is a really, really interesting position. I don't want to put my knight on this passive square, so I'm not going to do it. I was just thinking, like, worst case scenario, pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, castles, and he has a terrible pawn structure. Even though he's up a pawn, black should have really good counter chances. That's like worst case scenario for black. Probably worst and best case. Do I have any tactics? Not really. So I played this move almost purely on intuition. Here we go again with bishop e5. Takes, queen b6 check, bishop e3, bishop b5, c4, bishop takes c4, for example. I like this. We've got a 4. Wow, he didn't take. That looks kind of passive for white. Check bishop c4. Or check king h1. Alright, forget about calculation. What's my big idea again? Just sacking a pawn long term. That's fine. c3 nullifies my bishop on g7, so it has a solid sort of strategic basis. You don't want to take on f4 really, because you know he might just improve his pieces. I mean, the knight on e2 is a very badly placed piece. You know, therefore, I would prefer, you know, to not play pawn takes f4 and give him a good path, you know, into the game. However, if it works tactically, it works tactically. I mean, maybe I can play pawn takes f4, knight takes f4, queen b6 check, and bishop b5 at some point. It looks like he's just totally lost his marbles here. He just blundered a piece. I mean, I don't know if there's any sort of compensation. But I pretty much played this without any calculation and just intuitively. What's the truth? What's the truth about the position? Queen d3. You guys are just dropping pieces. Queen d3 is the engine move. So it may be the case that, like, maybe the case that bishop d7 isn't necessarily as good as a6 or cd, but so he plays the computer move, and I'm supposed to play queen b6 here. I wasn't convinced by this. Queen b6, knight c3, cd, knight d5, queen d8, knight takes d4, and I thought white's fine here. It's playable for black, but I didn't really like that variation. So we can also play a6, knight c3, c takes d. Maybe this is best. Knight takes, when I can at least just develop my pieces in a kind of free-flowing way. I think if I had to do it over again, this would be a very easy choice. So anyway, I decided to try to sack a pawn, but he didn't take me up, you know, on the offer here. It's not clear where he should put his knight, b3 or e2. And then I should do this Kupreichik style maneuver, bishop c6. Kupreichik is just deceased. I never got to play him. But he was a big hero of a friend of mine, a Polish blitz player who lived in the United States for a while. He's a jazz pianist named Bogdan Holodnia. He was a strong blitz player, you know, like let's say 2400. Never really that good at tournament play, but he was very tactical, loved to sacrifice all of his pieces, and his big hero was Kupreichik. Anyway, the reason I'm telling this story, besides the fact that Kupreichik just died, is that Kupreichik liked to play bishop d7 in the Sicilian on move, what is it, move 5. And then sometimes the bishop would go from d7 to c6. And that's why I'm calling this a Kupreichik Sicilian. That's probably best. Alright, World Loser. Thanks for joining us, man, and good luck with your construction project. So bishop c6 would have been best, but we just speculatively sacked the pawn here, and he should take it. It looks like I don't really have enough. I looked at knight g4, honestly. This is really wild. I think my queen gets trapped. Let's see. Pawn takes d6, queen b6 check. Could play knight d4 there. King h1, and if knight f2 check, Rook takes f2. Queen takes f2. This is kind of a classic. Bishop b5. Unfortunately, if I was castled, I'd have bishop b5 here and everything would be okay. But that is not the case. So I would lose my queen in that line. So I have to take back, and then Mule Skinner, he basically, yeah, I would have played, wait a minute, queen b6 check first isn't good, because of bishop e3, right? So here, I do have some compensation, which was my, this is my basic principle here, but it's not enough. It looks like I've got some problems. I've got to sack the exchange. Jeez. This wasn't part of the program. This was definitely not what I had planned. I'm just down the exchange for a pawn at best. No. Alright guys, so much for intuitive tactical variations. I think we just need to calculate. Next time, we'll keep it simpler. We're playing Arsenal Fan here, chess 960. My pieces are no knights on h1, which is good. This is not that strange of a position, honestly. I think. e3 could be an interesting, maybe Dutch. Dutch type. Dutch type position. Neil Skinner saw I was the engine move yesterday. I saw that cropping up in a couple of lines, actually. What I was talking about was like the line where I don't play bishop d7. I mentioned in the video now, I mean in the stream, the engine was looking at playing queen d3 when I played c takes d, which is really weird. Playable. I don't know if it's really necessary or what. But we have to research that position a little more deeply. Thanks to Mule Skinner, I'm going to be in good shape if anybody plays the Grand Prix attack against me. I'm going to have a good feel. I'm thinking about playing the Grob here. The Grob is not really my my favorite opening, but there's some justification for the Grob in this position. The rook is activated, the queen is activated. We have knight g3 at some point. Killer Grob. Arsenal Fan. Had never heard of Michael Basman. But he's famous in English chess circles. Knight e6. The Grob and the Killer Grob. I guess the Killer Grob is like the Grob reversed. You're playing like g5 on move 1. Principled move, knight to e6. So I guess I was planning on playing e3 at some point. So as you know, so this square and this square won't be real issues. I can go ahead and play it here, although I do have to consider how I'm going to restrain his center. Yesterday he tried to just take me out with this pawn center. So I'm a little bit worried about c6 and d5 actually. Grab, yeah, the Grab mentor. He's the Grob pioneer. The greatest Grob player. The greatest Grob theoretician in the world. He's still alive as far as I know. I never played against him. I don't think he's really that active. or hasn't been for 20 years. 96. 96 is a good move, and I'm suddenly like kind of turned off by my position. All right. Well, whatever. We've got to develop our pieces and wait for something good to happen, I guess. Batsmen like to play like h6, a6 with black, and then sometimes g5. But the main idea is to play g4 or g5 on move 1. Normally I'm very anti-moving my g-pawn. But here, in this particular setup, it seemed kind of justified. Anyway, he played g6. Why can't my bishop be on like g2 or something? The positional grob. I can't castle queenside till I can move my bishop from d1. There's the c6 I was talking about earlier. That's definitely an issue. But I've decided to play, you know, where we're just going to let him have the ideal pawn center. It's practically like a mirror image of the game I had with him yesterday. He's very into putting pawns in the center, which is a principled thing to do. This time he didn't. He played bishop e6. I was definitely expecting d5 there, but bishop e6 is okay. It looks... Actually, I don't like it. I changed my mind. It looks a little exposed. You know, I can play knight a4 at some inconvenient moment. Okay, but it's still not a terrible move. If I play knight a4, I put my knight on the side of the board, so... Yeah. I think that this is a good hyper-modern, an instructive hyper-modern situation, let's say. If he plays d4, we'll deal with that when the time comes. Now what? Bishop e2, bishop f3. Bishop f3 is interesting. You could do like pawn sacrifices with e4. One issue with bishop f3 could be a sealer sweeper type of thing with e4 and d4. Positional pawn sacrifice. I mean, maybe I should just sit tight here. This looks a little slow, honestly. He doesn't have f5, thank God, and maybe I should prepare myself for f5. I don't really want to see f5 anytime soon. Speaking of Jabava, Jabava would like this. I bet Jabava plays a lot of chess 960. I think chess 960 is good for your creativity. It's good for your general understanding of coordination. Other chess variants, I can't be sure it's necessarily... I mean, while they could be beneficial, they could also be harmful. Bye, and sorry you had to witness such a disastrous embarrassment. Yeah, Mule Skinner dropped pieces the last couple days. He doesn't usually do that. He played f6 now. Looks like he's slowly preparing. He's slowly preparing an advance. He's also castled. Now what do I do? h5? For lack of a better plan, I mean, I don't have that much time, and I need to do something. Try to keep him busy. You know, it's funny, like earlier positions I was thinking about bishop f3 and sacking a piece on d5. If my bishop was on f3, I would seriously consider knight takes d5. Probably would be interesting. Yeah, but now I have to play bishop f3. Black has time. To set up some sort of defense. He's just gradually improving. Very patient play, little by little, one square at a time. I don't see any piece sacrifices. He's connected his rooks, protecting a2. Black looks a little better. Black has a little bit more space. World Loser left us, but he would say that he doesn't like black having the strong center here. Don't be so hard on yourself, Mule Skinner. We all blunder. But he doesn't blunder very frequently, just in time pressure usually. If you guys want to watch some good chess, someone mentioned that Tromsø was starting soon, but the European Individual Championship, just so many great players in that tournament, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. I mean, there must be 100 GMs. It's just a Swiss system with like 100 GMs. And what can compare to that? Like Aeroflot Open from a few, some years ago when it was really, really strong. Like there's some amateurs, but not too many. Knight c5. If I was really wimpy, I could do something like h takes and then just trade wholesale exchanges on the h file, which would result in black just being a tiny bit better. I'm not really sure what I have here, though. I don't really have any good plans. I just don't have a better idea at the moment, and I'm running out of time. So let's play this ending. He can't initiate exchanges on the H file without losing control of the H file, which is one thing in my favor. I can exchange rooks and play like rook H1 if I want to, but he can't trade along the H file on his terms. He doesn't have F5. Any sort of pawn move looks kind of weakening for black. I mean, any sort of central move. So he's sort of frozen too. Mutual. Position of mutual. Looking for a word, can't find it. Mutual Zugzwang? No. Okay, he trapped his own knight, it looks like. B4. D4. Ironically, and then D4 gives him a square at E4. He's trapped his own knight, but I can't win a piece. Is that what's going on here? B4, D4, pawn takes C5, pawn takes B, C3, pawn takes B6, pawn takes D2, pawn takes A7, king moves. What is going on here? D4, and again there, knight E4, or pawn takes pawn, knight E4, knight takes E4, pawn takes E4, knight takes E4, and I'm still not winning. I almost clicked resign by accident. Raise your hand if you've clicked resign by accident. D4, knight E4, knight E4. There's almost something there. Knight E4. But in every line it looks like black's alright. I can't see how I can win material. It's ridiculous. But I just thought this way... Oh man, he has knight a6. I must be on drugs or something. Well, it's good I saw that move. Alright, never mind. All that analysis for nothing. He has a retreat square. Alright. I think white's... probably not even better. Damn, I thought I was winning some central control at least. But it looks like not. He's got a bad knight though. Not that it does a whole lot for me. Not even sure what I'm supposed to do here. Maybe b5. Let his knight back in the game. And this is ridiculous. Alright. I don't know what to do. What to do. He goes f5 on me. He's got time advantage. Playing good. Is he overextended? Man, I don't know. This is just too weird. Knight g7 is my threat. He's moving awful fast. I think he's playing a lot of bullet chess or something. Seems to just drop a pawn. With 3 minutes on the clock. I think he had d4 at some moment. But it's too much about playing, you know, quickly. He's got 3 minutes. There's no reason to make quick moves. You gotta take your time. It's just about focusing, taking your time. I'm beatable, but you gotta bear down and force me to make a mistake. Oh, hallucinations. All right. Black had a good game, just lost focus. I don't know if he was better, but he was at least equal. Mexican standoff, something like that. Happens a lot in chess. Oh, that's fine. Actually, I should have played rook g8. But I'm curious. You guys are taking it easy on me today. I mean, I'm just getting a lot of lucky like piece wins. Black's slightly better because of the center. And an engine wants to play what? Knight a4. So he's a little better here. You know, it's kind of a normal position, but black just has a little bit more space. So I think this evaluation is correct. 0.3, 0.5 even. Then he just makes knight c5, which is sort of risky, and now he's lucky he doesn't lose a piece there, but he knew he had a6. I didn't even see that he had a6 for his knight. That is ridiculous. Anyway, so b4, knight a6. Anyway, the knight is a little misplaced. So that negates his space advantage. Still, he's fine. But f5 was too ambitious, I think. f5 was just a little bit too ambitious. We need to play more slowly here. But still, black's fine. d4. I saw this. Knight d1, bishop d5. You get a good square for your knight, or bishop, or whatever it is. That's pretty awkward for me, actually. d4, knight d1. I might have taken on d4. Alright. You guys have been very kind to me, dropping pieces. But I mean, I don't think that Richie was even dropping a pawn, actually, if he played correctly there. We're going to play e4 against Baku's. Are you really from Mozambique? We've been through this before, right? He's not from Mozambique. Alright guys, we've got another 30 minutes, 35 or so to play today. I'm International Master William Paschall. We're in Budapest, Hungary, where I habitate, and the Steinitz defense. I don't really have a great line against the Steinitz defense, and most people play some variation of c3, you know. There's also d4. d4 is kind of a main line. We could play d4 now, a famous Lasker game with black, right? The classic is c3. I had a game against the delayed Steinitz. Actually, the guy played a6, g6, something like that. It's kind of like a Steinitz. I don't remember like ever having a game in the main line of this. We could transpose to You know what? I wonder if I should even play rook e1. Maybe it's better just to play d3. And we could transpose to the anti-Berlin d3. You know, I wonder if rook e1 is... Now I'm going to play d4. Okay. But I think it can be advantageous to not even play rook e1 in some lines. When you play d3, later on the rook can be useful for other reasons. You don't need rook e1 when you play d3. So that would... This is definitely an option to transpose to anti-Berlin. d4. Probably the main line is something like castles d5, knight b8, bishop takes d7. No, bishop back. Maybe bishop back to d3. Or bishop takes d7, knight takes d7, c4. It's like a King's Indian. I don't know. Knight a5 is super strange. Not a good move. Okay, I mean, it could be some obscure variation I'm not aware of, but it doesn't look right. I can't win a piece directly. Well, I mean, if that's a good move, I need to relearn chess, because... Yes, it's playable. But... It just looks like a liability. So it's some sort of prepared sacrifice? Is this serious? b4, c takes d, b takes a, d takes e, bishop takes e4, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, rook takes e4, queen takes e5, with compensation for the sacrificed piece. You've got to be kidding me. This is like a real thing? Now hold on a second here. Damn. What if I just play b4 and then recapture on d5? That's interesting. b4, cd, ed. If knight takes d5, now I take, it's a little different. And if take e4, I'm just playing bishop takes e4, knight takes e4, rook takes e4. The knight is still trapped. Alright, let's go for this. Really? This is like a thing? He just moves instantly? Okay, that's strange, dude. Why not use your time a little bit? There's no way he heard my variation that quickly. There's a delay on the stream. I mean, this had to be either analysis or he just intuitively played the exact variation that I suggested. It doesn't look quite enough for black. He has 2 pawns for a piece. Very nice, but not quite enough. It's probably not my only move there. I could have played others, but it contains a direct threat. But it's sort of disturbing when your opponent plays these moves instantaneously. Like, is this preparation? Like, did he play this game before? Has he made the sacrifice before? And knight a5 was played like instantaneously too. I mean, it's kind of a standard position up until I played b4. So he could easily have done this before. If you play the Steinitz, I mean, this position has to be pretty common. But I think I'm most likely being a bit paranoid. Just a fast player. Yeah, he doesn't have anything here. Just 2 pawns for a piece. We're gonna think about maybe getting some central control, enhanced central control. I did not expect queen c5. I'm not sure it's a good move or not. Looks like it loses more time. It does force me to interfere with my own rook. Maybe I should just consider something like bishop g5 at some point. I'm really lucky I'm not losing a piece here, because I didn't calculate this very far, but if e4, knight d4, I was hallucinating something. There are other defenses too, because the bishop is unprotected on e7. But I should be a little more careful. There I was concerned about bishop g4 being his best practical try. Now maybe we play for control of key squares. Maybe trade pieces in the Sveshnikov type of situation where he's basically down a piece. Well, is down a piece for not enough. Too much intuition, not enough calculation by me. Seems to be a concrete problem. Now bishop g4. I think we're in good shape. I'm not worried about doubled pawns. Just bishop takes f6, among other things. It's really strong. We just play this simply as possible, I guess. Bishop e4. Queen takes c4. Gives him a third pawn for the piece. Don't really like it. I don't want him to have really legitimate material compensation here. Now this should allow me to win by force. Winning a second piece, right? No mates. Just up 2 pieces now. It's the day of free pieces for me. Normally you guys are really stingy with the material, but it's been something else today. Pretty much everyone has been just regaling me with gifts. Almost every game. Knight takes h7. It's an awkward move. Like, he has to move his rook to g8. Had enough. Alright. Just out of curiosity, has that crazy move ever been played before? You know, if I just don't think and I play instantaneously... wow, surprisingly, this position is standard, right? So d5 is the main move. And everybody played knight b8, including Nigel and Vasily. But check it out, knight a5... novelty, and the engine is like 0.7. You know, it's not lost for black. It's even saying my best move is to take on d7. Bishop takes d7. Just play against the knight long term. Well, I mean, I make this principled move, and now I expected b5. You know, I mean, that's the normal move here. That's obviously what I anticipated he's going to do, but it looks like he has a bad Lopez after b4. I mean, this is just not a situation that you want, you know, you want to have happen. Knight b7. So he probably has to go knight c4. It looks like one of these lines where I'm going to have to like win a pawn, but he's going to have some sort of compensation if I go into this. Well, anyway, I mean, it's not that clear and kind of interesting. Let me just see that what happened in the game. c6. Yeah, right. Okay. So b4, cd. This is a really important move for white. Because if I take on a5, I think that he has a lot of compensation. I felt like it was a lot more. The engine thinks it's even better. Taking on a5, d takes e4. In the cold, hard light of day, let's see. He still only has 2 pawns for a piece. Yeah. It's just not enough. Alright. Back to reality. Neverness, Daniel. We'll try to get in at least one more game. Probably 2, because the Daniel game is a fast time control challenge. 5+2. It should be 5+3, but we'll let you get away with it. You saw before 95. Yeah, it's a theoretical. Well, actually, probably not a theoretical novelty. The lichess Opening Explorer just contains master games. If we look in a chess base or something, we're gonna find some. We'll probably find some obscure games where black played knight a5 in the under 12 championship of Kazakhstan or something. But it almost works in your defense against a weaker player. If they're not really focused, you could get a lot of counterplay. But I sensed the the need for accuracy there for white. You know, I'm not sure which way is better for me, but you definitely should have played b5. Now Neverness I didn't realize we had so many games against them. Back in the day, I think we played rated games against Neverness. Yeah, we haven't played this year. The computer move. This is not against you, Neverness, but I've noticed that a lot of people, when they cheat with engines and don't know openings, I think this move might be something that the engine suggests without an opening book or something, because I get that a lot against people that I later suspect are cheaters. For some reason, bishop e5, although it's not really a very theoretical line, it attracts people who are using engines. Neverness, though, you know, he may know this. I mean, bishop g5 transposes to the Richter-Rouser. Oh, shit. This is actually fine for white, too. I never had anyone play this move order against me before. That's crazy. Isn't that strange? I don't recall this ever happening by this move order. Karaklaj. So speaking of old school chess players, I met Karaklaj when I was in Belgrade in, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Ayesta is not here with a Serbian expertise, but Karaklaj is an international master who was like a theoretician in Serbia, and he did a lot of analysis on this variation. Normally, like, white plays bishop e3 first, and then bishop e5. Oh, it's a rated game. Okay, that's, yeah, sorry. But anyway, it's ironic that I said that Neverness used to play rated games against me. He didn't realize I don't normally do rated games, or he forgot. He hasn't played a game against me in a whole year. So anyway, you have two moves there. After bishop e7, bishop e3 is the Karaklaj, and bishop g5 transposes to the Richter attack in a Richter-Rouser. Instead, Neverness has gone into some kind of strange position that shouldn't really be dangerous for black. The big question is how to develop my king's bishop. The problem is g6, bishop takes c6. g6, bishop takes c6, b takes c6, e5. And white seems to have something going on there. So I guess I have to play e6. When 1.2k rated and I struggle to do a normal opening, you mean when someone doesn't respond normally, I get thrown off, find ways to lose. You know, that's a typical situation. There's really no substitute for experience. But I mean, I strongly recommend you train yourself to better understand opening principles. And the one catch phrase I use a lot with people, you know, if you study the principles rather than what's the first book on my table? This is Modern Chess Opening Theory. It's a very old book, but it's basically teaching just like kind of principle stuff. And if you understand the principles, not memorizing openings, but playing according to principles, it's going to help. But what I wanted to say as far as like a catchphrase to help is bad moves become good moves when you don't punish them. And so if the opponent plays some weird opening, what I'm trying to say is if the opponent plays some kind of weird opening, something you're not prepared for, basically you've got to punish them straight away, or else they're going to get away with something, and they can actually get an advantage. Some kind of obscure or strange opening might turn out to their advantage if you don't punish it properly. You need to be very... So the wording that I'm looking for is you need to be very incisive in all stages of the game, but I mean it's very evident in the opening in particular. Incisiveness. Don't play plans and opening moves by rote. You know, don't play systems by rote. Try to treat every position like you've seen it for the first time. What would Nimzovich do here? Queen g3. I think I have a good game because he can't fix my pawns with b4. He can't fully blockade. In the Karaklai, she's supposed to get in like b4, basically, at some point. And he's not making it here. If he can't blockade these central pawns and restrict my bishops, and he can't maintain good outposts for his knights, White could be in trouble. But it's still not that simple. It's always tricky playing like bishops against knights. Looks like we have a slight advantage here. I'd feel a little more comfortable with the queens off the board, honestly, because I know I have a strategic edge here. Don't like the position of my, let's say, my queen being opposite his rook. Ooh, this move is this move is almost asking for asking for it. That's all right. Now queen c7, knight h5. We're gonna need to play king h8 at some point. We don't really have any weaknesses. That's a good thing. Our bishops have a lot of potential. His knights don't have permanent outposts. Knight e4, queen c7. I'm not sure. Knight e4, rook b4. Yeah, this is what I expected. He's got all sorts of little tactical tricks. Alright. Damn. Gotta be very careful here. Rated game. Knight h5. Yep. I didn't know Neverness was this a knight guy. One of these knight-obsessed players. They always like force knights against bishops. Occasionally you get players that do that. But I just don't think that black can be worse if I have no weaknesses. You know, what did I do wrong? I mean, in this game, nothing. Black hasn't made a mistake. I mean, how can white be winning if black doesn't make a mistake? Physically impossible. Now he's starting to develop fairly serious threats. I think we're going to have to eliminate that one. I mean, obviously I have d4 at some point, but it's kind of inflexible. It's not really a flexible move. How am I going to get rid of that knight? Yeah, maybe I just have to do it. I mean, my bishop is very strong. Gives me defensive ideas of bishop e4 if necessary. You know, it's nice to keep the pawns really fluid, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just have to do it. This could also threaten his c2 pawn. If that goes, then my d pawn is winning the game. Well, a4. a4 doesn't seem like an issue. I'm thinking about centralizing here. Uh-oh. What is going on? I'm just taking this pawn. Super weird situation. I have h6. If I want to. This is an attacking defensive move. Winning c2 would probably win the game. I mean, he's just not going to checkmate me with the bishop on g6. Guys, we have time for one more blitz game after this. Yeah, rook b4 wizard dragon was definitely a candidate move at in a lot of spots. Now what? No, h6 weakens me a little bit. He actually has no threat here whatsoever. There is one way he could get me. I mean, it would involve playing like bishop g6, knight f4, knight takes g6, f takes g, rook takes h7 check, king takes h7, queen h4 idea, basically. That's the only way something could really go wrong. There's also like h6, knight f6. So maybe this is a little bit trickier than I thought. I've got some new defensive ideas cooked up with rook f8. All my pieces are playing. Still has this problem. h7 is protected, g7 is protected. His only threat is this knight f6 idea, which only works if I play h6. That's kind of ironic, right? I mean, I could have just taken his pawn on c2 probably. I guess I was a little nervous about where my bishop goes after that. You know, if I take on c2, rook c1, then what? You know? So he found a move. He's threatening knight takes g7 as well. But now I have h6. It's difficult to see. He's going to try for knight f6, but then I'll have bishop h7 defenses. Here I have bishop g6. Actually, f5 doesn't work. I'm just gonna have to sacrifice the exchange. He just went crazy. He could have played knight f6 there. But I don't see how this works. He had knight f6, winning the exchange. So I managed to find a way to get a lost position there. Not necessarily lost, but let's say unpleasant. Now I'm interested in forcing a trade of queens. Now he's just freaking out. Okay guys, one more blitz game after this. I want to see if he was winning there with knight f6. He spent a long time on that move and he didn't find it. It was kind of weird. G takes f6, rook takes h7, bishop h7. Oh. Did I miss something? Alright, he didn't have it? No, dude, he has it. Knight f6. I have to sack the exchange here. G takes f. It's mate. Queen takes a rook g7. That's the problem. I mean, just queen takes f6 check. I was an idiot to play rook f8. Let's just take the pawn on c2. Yeah, so here knight f6, I'm going to have to sack the exchange, and maybe I have enough compensation. He actually has rook h3, which is kind of scary. What the heck is going on here? I have to go into a queen and rook ending down a pawn. Best case scenario. Very unpleasant. Alright guys, this is the last game for today. Dania. You're talking about... You were good there. What's that? Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Knight f6. It was almost winning for white. I saw it, but he didn't, fortunately for me. But I should have seen it before. I should have just taken the pawn on c2 without playing rook f8. And he didn't have anything clear. He's just down a pawn. With a very strong passed pawn for black on d4. Should be a winning position. No, but before rook g3. But what are you saying? He had this even a move before? I mean, I was just looking with the engine. Daniel. The Rogozin, there's a book out on the Rogozin. You guys know that? Who published this? Recently I saw it. I haven't bought a chess book in a while. No money. Knight f6 is no good. Well, we just looked at that one instance where it's definitely good. I'm a little bit spaced out. Okay, this move is passive and not really good. So black has a lot of possibilities here. Bishop d7, rook e8. What else? You can turn it into, no, I think bishop d7 and rook e8, and occasionally maybe queen e7 I've seen played. Those are the main moves. You can even take on c4, but that's probably best to wait on that. Bishop e7 is just passive. So, I mean, my queen is going to have to move at a later date, no matter what I do. But a3 is weakening. Could play something like rook to c1. Looks kind of weird. I guess a3. Yeah. Given this very slow move, we have time for a3, followed by queen c2, without getting attacked by knight b4. I don't want my queen to get attacked with tempo. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. We'll be back tomorrow with Fast Friday when I play just blitz. Everything like 5-3 time control. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. CEST. Thanks, Blue Crow, for moderating today. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Please check out my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. We finish up the last game here. And thanks to those of you who have donated via PayPal. It is essential that we have some support to help things to keep running smoothly. You can donate via PayPal both on my YouTube channel here or on Twitch. If you can't donate, then just support us by taking part in the stream, telling your friends about it, and what have you. Now, alright, you know, bishop e7 was kind of a wasted move, but he's playing sensibly post bishop e7. I guess I should just exchange on d5. I hate exchanging on d5 in this kind of structure. My waiting moves are somewhat limited. Alright, let's play rook d1. Bad queen. It's the bad queen concept. Queen doesn't have any good squares. It can't go to e8 like in the Catalan. It has no like movement over there. And then the rook on d1 will help to make it more uncomfortable. Rook d1 will help to control any kind of possibilities of, I want to say, e5 or c5 breaks for black. Now b5. The question is how I'm going to meet, you know, b4. It doesn't look like an immediate issue. My original plan was bishop a2, but I'm having second thoughts about it because I don't know why. Because we have other options. And I don't know. We quickly play 94, but now my rook on d1 feels redundant. Why is the rook on d1 in this position now? It doesn't feel like it's really functioning. Threatening to win a pawn. Wasted move. Okay, he wasted a move too with bishop e7. He or she, so mutually wasted moves. Leave us in a normal position, I guess, at the end of the day. Both sides having wasted a tempo, basically. Knight takes b5. Sorry? Well, it's not really clear, you know. I mean, he could give me 2 pieces for a rook or something. It's possible, but not sure about it. I like this better. Now we've got something. Like, we faked him out. Like, we were faking right and we go left. American football. Actually, football, period. It's like taking a penalty shot. You fake right and go left. Yep, looks good. Give me that dark squared bishop, baby. You need that piece to guard your fragile, all the fragile weaknesses all over Black's position is just like covered in weak squares. Alright, now queen c8, see, queen problem. But now we don't have to do anything. We just chill out and castle, complete our development. And then we can decide at our leisure. Probably not the best move. You know, maybe I could have played rook c1 now. Maybe that making my rook unredundant on d1 would be better. Threatening to win a piece. Knight takes a b7. Forcing Black to make some sort of passive move there. A little bit routine move, castles. Too routine. Rook c1 was a lot stronger. Talking like Greg. How did I talk like Greg? Now it's just lost for Black, I guess. He's given up the e4 square. He can't protect his guys. The redundant rook will come back to win the piece here. Everything's protected. Every single one of my pieces is protected. You know, if you see a player whose all their pieces are protected, there's a good chance he's a master. John Nunn said LPDO. Loose pieces drop off. Every pawn and piece in the white position is protected. Give me that bishop, baby. Yeah. I was wondering what referenced. Mr. Greg. Okay, well, we could be greedy and play something like 95, but I think a piece is a piece. That's good enough for me. Alright guys, we're going to be back tomorrow. Thank you for playing and viewing and commentating and taking part and all that other good stuff. Behaving yourselves. We didn't have to ban anyone today. It's always a good day when the ban hammer doesn't have to come down. And we've got everything Catalan style. Bring the king to the center, and that's frying pan into the fire. Alright, thank you for the game. We'll be back tomorrow, guys. Bye-bye.